Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to the Pranzata podcast. I am your host, Andrea Pranzatelli, and this is episode number 35 on my podcast series here on YouTube. 35 and still alive. That was really corny, but felt necessary. Anyways, before we get into it, this is a podcast, a video podcast I do on YouTube. I typically interview comedians and musicians from New Jersey, New York City, Philadelphia area, and I occasionally do a solo podcast episode. As such, I am today. If you're into that kind of thing, don't forget to hit subscribe, don't forget to hit like, and don't forget to comment on anything that we talk about throughout the episode. So let's get right into it. Episode number 35. Okay, so today is a solo episode. The past couple weeks I had a few comedians on, and I have a few comedians. I had a musician on last week, actually. So musicians and comedians. And I got some guest booked next week, but this week I do not have any guest booked, so it's just going to be me. I enjoy Neo's presence in this podcast episode. He's being super sweet right now, which isn't always his personality, so it's nice to see. So in this particular podcast, I wanted to, since I'm by myself, I wanted to take the time to talk about food-related topics. That's actually something that I've been wanting to do for a while on this podcast, but I just kind of never gotten the opportunity to. I would be totally down for even interviewing like a nutritionist or a fitness person at some point. Actually, I did a while ago. I did interview a not nutrition expert, like a fitness trainer or something like that. That was a while back. But anyways, I kind of wanted to talk to you guys about my own take on health and, diet and food and that kind of thing. Before I get into it, I do want to say something about it. It's funny, I never really wanted to be like the disclaimer YouTuber. That always drove me crazy when people were like, quick disclaimer. I'm just like, shut up and own your opinion. So I kind of feel like I'm being the disclaimer person by saying this right now. But I do want to bring it up because this is a podcast and, a lot of it is kind of like in the moment and talking about my feelings that I feel about certain things. So I've been sort of like afraid to talk about food related topics on this channel because from my personal experience, like for a couple of reasons, and I'll try to explain briefly so I can get right into the food related stuff. But for a few reasons, like for one, I've personally like noticed that bringing up food related stuff could be very, oh look, Jazzy's here too. Hey buddy. I've noticed that like talking about health and food related stuff can be very triggering for some people. I would say in particularly women, but not always women, sometimes men too. So I don't want to like generalize, but I would say in particularly women, it could be really triggering too. I don't know. Like I've had mixed reactions about it. Like I'll have some people that will reach out and tell me like, hey, I love seeing the food you post on Instagram, like on your stories or whatever. It's super inspiring. But then I've had like actually that's not true. There have been like one or two people who have like kind of like reached like trolled me on Instagram about putting like fitness and food related stuff, but it's more often in person that I notice like people being triggered about food related stuff. I don't know, like I've definitely experimented with diet a lot in my life, and I've always been like really OCD about like the foods I consume, and I've always been like and here's the thing, like I wouldn't even consider myself someone who like, oh yeah, by the way, quick FYI, if you don't notice, I got a haircut. It's actually like it's a little bit shorter than I anticipated. I told the lady to like just trim it so it could grow healthy, and she took off a lot more than I thought, but it's probably a blessing in disguise because hair tends to get like dry in the winter, so it'll grow out nice and healthy, but whatever. Anyways, getting back into it. I've never like really considered myself a person who like brags about eating healthy. I kind of just eat healthy and keep it to myself. Like I don't really talk about it. But even that alone, I've noticed has been like extremely triggering for people particularly in person. I do, I guess, like brag, if you want to say, or talk a lot about my like food stuff on Instagram, but that's just because I'm like, I don't know, excited about it, proud of it, like want to inspire people to eat, like, live a healthier lifestyle. But I'm not like someone who marches around about it in person. But like, I don't know, like, I'm just going to try to give you guys more concrete examples. Like, I noticed in particular when I've tried different diets, and when I tried becoming vegan, like I tried a vegan diet for about like 7 or 8 months, I noticed that was probably the most triggering for people. Everybody always had an opinion about that, like in person, like, oh, come on. Like, I mean, anyone who's been a vegan, like, or has tried veganism or vegetarianism knows exactly what I'm talking about. Like, someone always has to kind of make a comment about that. But even just like in general, like if I'm at a party and someone like offers me a piece of cake and I refuse it, you can literally like sometimes they'll keep trying and be like, oh, come on, you got to live once. And if you say, no, sorry, I'm okay, you can literally sometimes see like, oh my God, Neo and Jazzy are on the couch together. I was afraid that Neo was going to start like biting him or something. But anyways, like if someone offers me a piece of cake at a party and I turn it down and like they keep trying, like, oh, come on, you got to live once. You can literally see like their emotional energy shifting if you stand your ground and say like, no, sorry, I'm okay. Like, it makes people really uncomfortable. I don't know why. Like, I guess like if I had to try to guess, it kind of causes people to look at their own decisions, and it like makes them feel guilty. That, I don't know, like it's like I said, it's very triggering for people, and like that's not really the goal. You know what I mean? Like, my goal isn't to trigger anyone. Or like another thing, like if I go out for drinks, like if I go out for a beer, I'm usually pretty good at stopping at like 2 or 3. Like, I'm not someone who like keeps drinking. And that's like another thing. Like, if I go out for drinks with friends and I'm like sometimes friends will be like, hey, want a shot or like want another beer? And I'll be like, no, I'm good. And again, like you can almost see like people's like emotional energy like shifting and them feeling like bad, and it's just like a very annoying thing to deal with. So like that's kind of one reason I've been like afraid to talk about food on this channel, because I was like, I don't want to upset anyone, but it's also a huge part of me and I do want to share it with people. I would say another thing, like this is going to probably get a little controversial, but I do want to say this. I personally feel like a lot of what's going on in the country right now is divided politically. Like, that's no secret. Like, we all know that there's like huge issues, a huge issue between like political division right now between the Republicans and the Democrats. And I have noticed that some of that stuff does like trickle into specific subtopics that aren't necessarily political, and then those things somehow end up becoming political, even though they don't need to be. And I feel like food is no exception. I feel like in a weird sense, food, oh my God, do you guys see that? He's literally scratching my back. He wants attention. I feel like food is one of those things that's actually sort of divided in a weird way. And actually, when I think back, I was talking about this with like the Neo, no, he's going to jump on the recording. Hold on. Sorry about that, guys. He was literally, Neo was literally about to jump like on the podcast recording while it was live and just completely fuck it up. So I had to like just get over there and get him off the computer. It's so funny. But anyways, no, back to what I was saying. I do feel like food is just another one of those things that is politically divided. And I was having like an in-depth conversation with this about, with the nutritionist that I had on my channel a long time ago. And we were explaining how like, there's something, it's like, okay, if you have any opinions on diet, and you follow any kind of diet or any kind of like healthy lifestyle, you're considered like one of them. Like, it's like, what do they say? I don't even know what they call it. The diet culture. They'll say, oh, that's the evil diet culture. And it's like divided in between these two fields. It's like body positivity versus diet culture. And I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, why can't you be a part of both? Like, why can't there be any gray areas in between? So that's like another thing I've noticed. And again, if I can give a concrete example, I'm going to bring up, there's like a couple examples, but I'll bring up Adele. Okay. So for example, Adele is a singer who was a little heavier than like the typical, American singer. And I guess a lot of like thicker women in the United States kind of idolized her and looked up to her. But then she lost a bunch of weight and people were legitimately angry at her. And like, they were like, you're not, I don't know what they were saying, but they were just like pissed off. They were like, this is bullshit. Like, you're subscribing to, the diet culture, like, the evil diet culture. And, a lot of her fans were mad at her for that. And like, from my perspective, I think that is so fucking selfish. Like, because first of all, she's a singer, she is a singer. She is not a body positivity enthusiast. Like, that's not what her job is. She is an amazing singer who happened to be overweight. But at the end of the day, she's a singer and she has a great voice and she's a great musician. I find it so selfish that people would criticize her for losing weight and kind of like considering her like going to the other side or whatever, because it's like, we just got out of I guess we're kind of still in it, but we just got out of a pretty heavy pandemic that it was statistically and medically proven that people who were overweight were more we're more likely to get COVID and die. So how fucking selfish of, people to judge somebody for taking care of their health and accusing them of not being body positive because of it. But anyways, like, I kind of want to get into like the reason why I'm here, but I kind of felt like I needed to rant about that a little bit because it is honestly a reason like why I've been afraid to even talk about this stuff on here. Because I'm just like, I don't want to be seen as like evil or one of them, like, based on things I've seen online between like other people. And I have other examples, but I don't want to talk about it forever. And then, like I said, like real life experiences that I've had personally where I felt like I might have triggered certain friends or family because of my lifestyle choices. But anyways, let's get right into it. Definitely that's like a little bit of a controversial thing to talk about. So if anybody has any opinions on that, leave that in the comment section below. Like, do you agree with me that like the country kind of feels divided in many ways and diet is no exception? It's like this body positivity versus them type of thing. And it's just ridiculous. But anyways, so let's get into it. I have a list of things I want to talk about with food. Okay, so I feel like I could talk a lot about this because I've tried so many diets in my lifetime. Like I've tried keto, I've tried veganism, I've tried paleo. I kind of was like soul searching for the diet that I felt like could work for me and my lifestyle. And a lot of trial and error. I finally have been on one for about a year now that I feel like has been the best option for me and my lifestyle. I've been feeling my best. I'm just keeping an eye on Neo because he's like near the computer again, and I'm gonna kill him if he messes up this recording, but I think he's okay. So I've been on a diet called the Okinawa Diet, and I've been on it for about a year now. And it's like I said, I've been through different diets, and this is probably the only diet that I've been on that I'm like, this is my lifestyle. This works for me. I've been feeling my best. I've been feeling wildly energetic. Like if you guys don't notice, I'm super hyper. I fall asleep sometimes at like midnight, 1:00 in the morning, and I wake up at like 6 or 7 in the morning, and I always feel well rested, even though I didn't like go to bed early. Like every single day I have tons of energy. My energy lasts like all day long. Like I don't really feel tired ever. I feel very like healthy otherwise. Like I feel like I'm like maintaining my weight like at the weight that I feel the best in, kind of effortlessly. I work out every day, but I don't really put that much like time into it. I just kind of do like jumping jacks and sit-ups for like 20-30 minutes a day. And I feel like really great right now. So keep in mind that I just wanted to throw that out there, that the Okinawa diet has been working for me. I want to make a separate video going into detail about the Okinawa diet. This video, I kind of want to stay focused on something else because I can talk a lot. Like I said, I can talk a lot and I have a lot to share about this type of topic. So I want to kind of divide that into separate videos. So the next time I do a solo podcast, I'm going to go into detail about like what I eat on the Okinawa diet. For this podcast, I want to talk about general rules that I have followed like basically throughout my entire life. No matter what diet I was on, that I feel like these are rules that I follow in my specific diet and eating patterns that no matter what diet I'm on, I feel like they're really important. And the reason I want to share this with you guys is because I feel like if you're the type of person who's coming from a place of like, I want to get healthier, but I feel kind of lost. I don't know how. I don't think I have what it takes to go on a strict diet, but I just like want to have an overall healthy lifestyle. I feel like this is kind of for you. Like, I feel like this is going to be really helpful to you. And like I said, no matter what diet I'm on, I follow these rules religiously and I swear by them and they make me feel very good. So, okay, the first thing I'm going to say is I really truly believe that no matter what diet you're on, again, if you want to do paleo, if you want to do veganism, if you want to do whatever, Okinawa diet like I'm on now, or if you don't want to be on any diet at all and you kind of just want to eat what you want to eat, I think, and I really truly believe that you can technically eat anything you want to eat as long as your foods are minimally processed. If possible, unprocessed, but that's like impossible. Like, and by the way, the word processed is like really confusing to people. Like I don't think you have to only eat raw foods. Like if we're talking like unprocessed, like then technically you can only eat things in its purest form, like garlic, onions, apples. Processed foods basically means like any process has been done to this food to alter it in any kind of way. So that could be literally the process of cutting it up or the process of like adding chemicals to it or like additives to it and that type of thing. So I don't think you need to eat like unprocessed foods. I just think you need to eat minimally processed foods. And I'm going to explain, I actually have like physical examples that I'm going to give to you. So as I go through these other rules, I'll kind of bring up what I mean in more depth about that, because that can kind of be confusing, like to people. Like people hear that kind of like thrown around all the time, like, oh, eat minimally processed foods. It's like, well, what the fuck does that even mean? You know what I mean? So I'm going to explain like as I go through these other rules. Okay. The first thing that I abide by, I feel like my boobies are hanging out. So I was going to say sorry about that, but I'm sure it's not a problem. First of all, no soda. Okay. I do not drink soda. I used to when I was a teenager, so I can't say I've never drank soda, but like, I don't care what diet I'm on. I don't even drink soda on like a cheat day. I just don't think it's good for you. I think it's a processed food. It's really bad for you. In particularly, what is bad about it to me is the high fructose corn syrup. That is an artificial sugar that is in a lot of things, and I'm going to get into that like more later, like what other things you can find high fructose corn syrup in. But I think that it is really bad for you. You know, I'm not a scientist or a doctor, so I can't, I kind of understand why it's bad for you, but I feel like I wouldn't be able to explain it thoroughly. So I recommend like maybe just YouTubing later why, like you can YouTube another person and say like, why is high fructose corn syrup bad for you, and what products typically have it. But I'll tell you, soda has it, unless it's like a raw soda, which they do make those now. But in general, like Coca-Cola, Dr. Pepper, even Diet Coke. I don't want to do Diet Coke. I don't ever feel good about it. It tastes really weird to me. I'm not a fan of like artificial sugars. The only soda I drink is basically seltzer. Like, so I'll drink 0 calories, zero no artificial sugars, nothing, just like seltzer, bubbles, sodium. It has salt, but like I actually don't think sodium's bad for you. I actually think sodium's really good for you, by the way. Just not too much of it, but sodium is good for you. So yeah, I don't know. Like, actually funny, I have a soda right here. So we can, and I didn't plan this, but we can use this as the example. So the ingredients are carbonated water, natural flavor. So by natural flavor, I would imagine mango and lime. So there's literally like little hints of natural mango and lime, and that's it. Carbonated water, natural flavor, 0 calories, zero fat. This one actually has zero sodium. I'm surprised about that. Zero carbs, zero protein, just like straight up almost nothing. That's the only soda I'll drink. It's not for everybody, but I highly recommend the switch from like regular soda or diet soda. I feel like my like bra keeps coming out. Artificial, what would I say? Oh yeah, diet soda to like real soda. I really highly recommend switching to seltzer if you can make that switch. Okay, my next rule that I personally follow in my life, and I followed it for years since I was like 19 years old, is no fast food. I do not eat fast food. I don't think it's good for you. I don't think that I need to explain to you what the reasons why. I think, again, it's one of those things, if you want to get in more depth of why, fast food is not good for you, just look it up yourself on a different video, because I'm not really here. I'm not a scientist. I'm not here to explain that to you. But I've done a lot of my own research, and I don't think fast food is good for you. The only exception I will personally make, and it's not something that I do every single day, because I think like as much like home cooking and fresh cooking as you can get as possible is better. But the only exception I'll make is Chipotle or Chipotle type stores like Moe's or those types of places, like whatever the hell is that called? Bubbaco's burritos. I think those things are like an exception to the rule a little bit. I mean, like there's a reason for it. Like if you're if you're paying like $10, $11, $12 for a meal, then like it's obviously better quality than a $6 or $7 meal. You know what I mean? So like there's a reason for that, why that feels a little better. I personally don't feel sick when I eat Chipotle. I feel like pretty good. And not only that, but I kind of look around at the clientele that I see at Chipotle, and I honestly do see like a lot of like fit, attractive looking people in there. And I think that says something. I've literally seen like fitness bros like in there, like with their like high protein, like bowl or whatever. So I don't know. I just look around, look at the clientele, trust how my body feels. And I'm like, all right, I don't feel terrible eating Chipotle. Comment in the comment section below, like if you agree or disagree with that. Cause I actually personally know some people that are like, I get fucking sick eating Chipotle. So I don't know, everybody's different. You got to trust your own body. But personally, I usually feel pretty good when I eat Chipotle. Okay, let's see what's next. Okay, I mentioned this before, but I'm going to mention it again. I do not have high fructose corn syrup. I think that is a huge culprit for a lot of diet problems. Again, you're going to want to do your own research on this, but there's a lot of evidence that shows it causes high inflammation in the body. There's a lot of evidence that shows it is one of the main sources of obesity in the United States, is the fact that the type of oils we're consuming, but also the fact that so many products have high fructose corn syrup in it. And again, some people will argue this too. Like I had friends who went to college for chemistry and nutrition and that type of stuff, and their professors argued that was like bullshit. But I don't know. I've cut it out of my life. I've cut it out of my diet, and I feel great. So I do think there's like some, proof in that. I feel like certain places to watch out for high fructose corn syrup. And I think, by the way, this is like a huge problem for people's diets in general. Like a lot of people kind of find themselves in a bit of a slump. Like, I'm working so hard. I'm eating salads and I'm watching everything I eat. I don't understand like why I'm still gaining weight, or I'm having trouble losing weight, or I'm having trouble feeling good or having energy, etc. I think a big source of this issue is the high fructose corn syrup and the different things it's in. So, if you go to the grocery store or, out to eat or whatever, I would say watch out for these specific things. And again, I personally think you're going to have to like read. I'm a big label reader. Like when I go to the grocery store, I read all the labels. I don't ignore that. But certain things, like you might find fructose corn syrup in ketchup, dressings, condiments, honestly, anything in a box, like anything in a box or a container that's not a whole food. Like we were saying before, there's whole foods and then there's minimally processed foods. Ketchup, for example, can be a minimally processed food, depending on what's in it. So for example, you might find like, a bottle of ketchup with like a list of ingredients, like yay high, you know what I mean? But then you might find like an organic ketchup, like Annie's ketchup or whatever, that literally has 4 ingredients, like, tomatoes, vinegar, little bit of natural sugar, and salt, like oil, like maybe like 4 or 5 ingredients. Or you could find another ketchup that has like 20 ingredients and like half of them you can't pronounce. And one of those would be, what you even call it? High fructose corn syrup. I didn't even add this rule to the list, but now that I'm on the topic, I feel like a rule on the list should be, in general, when looking for foods at the grocery store, try to find ones that don't have an enormous list of ingredients. That, like, if you don't feel confident in like understanding the label and understanding the different things in the label, I think like a safe thing to say would be like, hey, I don't know what's in this label, but why are there 100 things in a loaf of bread? Like, if you were to make bread at home, it would literally be like flour, sugar, yeast, eggs, baking soda, whatever the hell is in bread. So why, when I go to the store, are there 100 things? Half of them I can't pronounce. Like, so I feel like that's kind of like, I should have put that rule on here. Like, that's a good rule of thumb to kind of go by when you're trying to pick out foods on the grocery store. If you want things that are minimally processed and you don't understand the ingredients or don't understand like what's healthier for you, try to pick something with like a shorter list. You know what I mean? Anyway, so let's keep going. Yeah, so I said no fructose corn syrup. You're going to have to watch out for that in your ketchups, dressings, condiments, overall labels. Don't try to stay away from things that are just like highly processed, have a million different ingredients. Next, oh my God, this is a huge one. The oils, the cooking oils. So this is a huge one for me. So I feel like this is kind of like where people can struggle with their diet as well too. Like, for example, let's say you're the type of person who like goes out to eat every single day. And like, let's say you go to the diner and you're genuinely getting like, okay, I don't get it. Every time I go to the diner, I get egg whites and broccoli or like whatever. You're like super strict. You're like, I don't understand why I'm still gaining weight or why I don't feel good, even though I'm only eating like eggs and broccoli. Well, the truth is, when you go out to eat, when you go to the diner, you don't know what kind of oils they're using. And again, I'm not going to break it down scientifically why certain oils are bad for you, but I really encourage you to do your research and like start researching which cooking oils are healthier for you and which ones are bad for you. But there's scientifically backed evidence that certain cooking oils lead to inflammation in the body, and lead to weight gain and like trouble losing weight and all kinds of like even like mental issues and like depression. Like, oils are no fucking joke. So personally, these are the oils that I stay away from. Canola oil. I don't buy anything with canola oil in it. Corn oil. I've heard that one's like one of the worst ones. And I think that's actually what they use in fast food. And that's why fast food isn't good for you. Like, in theory, fast food could be healthy if they just used better oils. You know what I mean? But they drench their stuff in highly inflammable oils, which is why fast food isn't good for you. Also because like the meats are highly processed and so are their dressings and condiments. But anyways, like that's a whole nother story. But yeah, so corn oil, canola oil, I say no to. Peanut oil, sunflower oil. And it's funny because like all those things sound like they would be healthy. Like peanut oil, it's peanuts. Like, why would that be bad for you? Again, do your research. I've read a lot about it. It has to do with like the inflammation, the inflammation it causes in your body, and also something about certain omegas. Like, there's certain omegas that you get from some oils that you don't get from others. So these are the oils that I've done my research that are supposed to be a lot better for you. Olive oil. These are the only oils that I cook with personally, or if I go out to like buy a product in the store that's like a processed or minimally processed product, I only buy it if it has these following oils: olive oil, coconut oil, or avocado oil. Those are the only oils I will consume. Again, if I go out to eat, like I like my Chipotle, I don't know what kind of oils they're using, honestly. I'm sure I can go to their website and figure it out, but it's probably not one of those. I mean, I can look it up later, but I'd be willing to bet it's not one of those. So that's kind of like, you can't be perfect all the time. Like, there's going to be times where you want to go out to eat and you can't really 100% know what goes in your food. But for the instances when you're buying processed foods, or the instances where you're cooking your own foods, you have control over that stuff. And I think if you have the option, you should stick to olive, coconut, and avocado oils. And I think you should continue to do your research and figure out, like, look up which oils are better. And that way you can kind of find a cooking oil in your house that works for you and your particular lifestyle and your particular lifestyle. Sorry, I keep slurring my words. Like, the reason I keep correcting myself is because I'm very, like, self-critical of myself. And I notice in my podcast episodes, like, sometimes I speak so fast that I don't, like, properly articulate my words very clearly. So now I'm kind of, like, getting in the habit of, if I kind of whiz past a sentence that is, it just, like, comes out jumbled, I'm, like, making sure that I really slow down and, like, properly articulate every single word. So that's why I'm, like, kind of correcting myself, because I'm trying to break the habit of speaking too quickly, and it's not going very well, clearly. Okay, I don't have too much left. I didn't want to make this episode really long, so I only have 2 things left. Gluten. Okay, so this is like a big... Okay, so I don't want to say that gluten is bad for you, because I don't 100% think it's bad for you, to be honest. I actually think there is a way to have gluten and, like, live a healthy lifestyle eating gluten. So I think there's 2 ways to do it. There was a point in time in my diet, like, I currently don't eat gluten now, but there was a point in time of my diet where I was consuming gluten, and basically the rule that I lived by was that I, again, kind of going back to what I said before, I didn't buy any, like, breads that were highly processed. So, for example, if you go to the grocery store and you're looking for a loaf of bread, really opt for the fresh bakery bread, because if you look at the ingredients, like the one that's baked on the spot, usually it's going to have, like, 5 different things. It's going to have, like, maybe some seeds, like, depending on the flavor, but it's going to have, like, oil, sugar, yeast, eggs, etc., like a little bit of flour, obviously. Look at actually do this the next time you go to the grocery store. Go pick up, like, a fresh, like, let's say you go to ShopRite, I don't know where you go, but go pick up, like, a fresh looking loaf of bakery bread, ones that you can, like, see the ingredients on it, because sometimes they don't even have it, but, like, find one that, like, looks nice and fresh with the ingredients on it. Take it with you, and then go to the bread aisle and find Wonder Bread. And I want you to read the difference, like, between the Wonder Bread and the fresh bakery bread, and your mind is going to be blown. Like, there are so many things in the Wonder Bread that I don't even, like, understand what half of them are. And to me, that's not good. So again, I don't think you need to live a gluten-free diet. I just think you need to be really careful, like, what type of gluten you're consuming. I think pastas overall, like, I think most pastas are actually pretty pure ingredients. Like, I think that, like, spaghetti and pasta is usually just pasta. So I feel like that's probably a little safer. And again, there are some arguments that gluten in general is bad for you. I kind of do lean towards that mentality that I'm like, I want to avoid gluten in my diet. I feel a lot better, a lot mentally crisper, a lot healthier, a lot, you know, it's easy for me to maintain my weight. But I'm just kind of throwing these out there if you're the type of person who doesn't believe that. If you're like, fuck that, I need my bread, I need my pasta, I think go for it. Just be really careful about exactly what types of breads and pastas you're consuming. Always check the ingredients and make sure that it's not like 100 different things that you can't pronounce in it. Okay, for the non-gluten folks like myself, or people that are kind of interested in going on a gluten-free diet, I would say be really, really careful about what gluten-free products you're buying, because I feel like sometimes this could be a trap. If you don't know what you're doing, you can actually kind of get yourself into more trouble on a gluten-free diet than just eating, like, regular gluten. For example, like, if you're buying gluten-free bread and, like, gluten-free pasta, oftentimes those products could be so highly processed that you're actually better off just eating gluten at that point. So be really careful about that. I eat a gluten-free diet. A lot of my diet is naturally gluten-free. Like, I don't consume a ton of gluten-free products. I do, and I actually have one here that I'm going to show you. But in general, by gluten-free, I'm not like eating gluten-free breads and gluten-free pastas like every single meal. definitely not when I go out to eat, because I don't really know what's in those like gluten-free things. I mean, that's not true. Sometimes I do get like gluten-free pizzas when I go out to eat and like consider it a cheat meal type of thing. But just in general, like I try to just stick, if I'm going to do gluten-free, I really try to stick to like just gluten-free things naturally. Like I try to get my carbs from like rice, brown rice, sweet potatoes, jasmine rice, beans. Like, you know what I mean? There's just like natural ways to get your carbs. If I want to like kind of go on a whim and I want to treat myself to something special, again, I do not buy like any old gluten-free product. I would say like I haven't found a single gluten-free product that I trust in ShopRite, in Wegmans, not even Wegmans, by the way. Like I don't see any gluten-free products in Wegmans that I trust, at least not the ones where I live in Central Jersey. They could be like different in different areas. Mm-hmm. The only two gluten-free products that I trust are, by the way, I'm not sponsoring. Like I wish I was sponsored by them, because that would mean my podcast would be a lot more successful. But the only two gluten-free products that I actually trust are, Base Culture. So one is called Base Culture. Again, very minimally processed. I think Base Culture is appropriate for like the keto diet, but I don't eat it because it's keto. I eat it because it's very minimally processed. It's got like literally eggs, avocado oil. Again, talking about the oils thing, it has like oils that I trust. Eggs, avocado oil, like seeds, whatever. I think Base Culture bread is really, really good. The other one, and I actually have here, so this brand, and again, I'm not sponsored. I just genuinely love this brand. So I hope they sponsor me. That would be fucking awesome. But anyways, Capello's, I don't know if like the camera is going to get that backwards or forwards. I'm not sure. But okay, so there's this brand called Capello's. This is an almond flour pasta, gnocchi. If you're allergic to nuts, this probably isn't the brand for you, because I think a lot of their products are nut based, but I do think they also have some like gluten-free wraps that don't have any nuts in it. I'm pretty sure they have like a chickpea wrap and like cassava flour and stuff like that. But again, I'm going to read the ingredients to you. So this is almond flour pasta. The ingredients, there's only a few things. Organic potatoes. Okay, there is one thing that I don't know what it is, but again, because it's like mono and diglycerides. I'll be honest, I don't like the sound of that, but I don't honestly know what it means. But besides that, listen to the whole list. Organic potatoes, mono and diglycerides, almond flour, eggs, tapioca flour, and sea salt. That's it. Just those few things. And again, like I said, I don't know what the mono and diglycerides are. I don't know what that means, but based on the rest of this, like everything else, organic potatoes, almond flour, eggs, tapioca flour, sea salt, I'm willing to take my chances on those diglycerides. If somebody knows what that means, please tell me, because I don't know what it means. Again, minimally processed. There is a couple things in here that I'm like, well, what the fuck is that? But minimally, and like most of the ingredients I know and I trust. And I like that. So I really trust in this brand as far as like gluten-free products go. Again, I do think that if you're going to do gluten-free, I do think that like a natural gluten-free diet is probably best, like sweet potatoes, rice, beans, etc. But I also don't think that you should deprive yourself, and I think you should treat yourself to some Capello's and some Base Culture if you have the chance to. I've only personally been able to find these products at Whole Foods. I think at one point they used to have Base Culture in ShopRite, but they don't have it anymore, at least not by the ShopRite near me. I never saw Base Culture at Wegmans. I mean, at least I've never seen it. Again, I don't know what like all these different stores in the different countries are like, different states and countries. But I do know that Whole Foods is an excellent place to go to buy these specialty types of products. I mean, it's called Whole Foods for a reason. They're trying to sell whole foods and minimally processed foods. And by the way, not everything at Whole Foods is healthy. There are some like shitty gluten-free products at Whole Foods, but if you look carefully, you will find some like really good gluten-free products there, such as Capello's and Base Culture. So the last thing I have here on my list is, and it kind of really like a lot of these things kind of blend into each other and tie together, but the last thing I have on my list is that I don't think that desserts are off the table as long as your desserts are not highly processed. Again, it keeps coming back to the same theme. Processed. I try to stay away from processed foods, processed oils, processed sugars, etc. I don't think desserts are off the table. I treat myself to ice cream still. I treat myself to cookies, cakes, etc. I just think you need to stick to minimally processed versions of each of those. And again, let's use ice cream as the example. If I go to the grocery store and I want to pick up an ice cream, try this experiment yourself. Go to the ice cream aisle, pick up a Haagen-Dazs vanilla. Is it Hagen or Hazen? I don't know how to pronounce it. Hagen, whatever. Pick up a Haagen-Dazs vanilla, and then pick up like a Friendly's. Like, I'm trying to think of like a shitty, pick up like a Friendly's, don't pick up the ones that say organic, because then the organic ones are fixed. Pick up like a generic Friendly's, and then pick up like a vanilla bean Haagen-Dazs, and just look at the labels between the two, and then you tell me like which one is the healthier option. Again, same thing with like cookies and cupcakes, etc. Go to a bakery, like they're making it fresh on the spot. You know that it's going to be healthier for you. It might not be low in calories, but as far as like, it's not always about calories, by the way. Like a lot of people, I feel like a lot of people, I guess I'm kind of like impromptu adding this to the list. A lot of people make the mistake of like, oh, this is low calorie, low carb. That must mean it's better for you. I feel like a huge example of that would be like the diet soda. A lot of people think that like, oh, diet soda has 0 calories. It must be good for you. But the human body is like a really, the human body is fucking smart. And if you taste a fucking diet soda and you're like, oh, what the fuck is that? Like, I feel like that's a sign that it's not fucking good for you. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, and again, everybody's different. Some people actually might enjoy the taste of a diet soda. Personally, I taste it and I'm like, dude, what the fuck is this? Like, I can literally taste the unnaturalness. Like, it just tastes disgusting to me. But but like that's like a big mistake people make. Or like some people buy those like 0 carb, I think it's like 0 carb bread. There's like a loaf of bread in the grocery store, and I'm pretty sure it's called like 0 carb bread. But like, again, so it's low calorie, low carb, but like, look at the fucking ingredients. It's not good for you, you know? So I feel like that's a huge mistake people make in general, is like they just try to jump to things that are lower in calories, assuming that calories is the thing that's gonna keep you from gaining weight. But that's like a short term thinking about the whole thing, because it's one big picture. It's like, okay, maybe I invested in a little too many calories on this cupcake. However, this cupcake has a lot more fucking nutrients than the low calorie cupcake that has a bunch of bullshit in it. So like, yeah, there's sugar in this, there's butter and sugar in this cupcake, but this is natural butter and natural sugar and natural flour. And those things have nutrients that are going to, like help my entire system out, and in turn are going to speed up my metabolism and make it easier for me to lose weight in the long run. So again, I think those like trying to find like the diet ice cream or the diet cupcake, I think those are kind of short-term solutions, and I don't think they're good for you. I think if you're going to eat a cupcake, eat the fucking bakery cupcake. I think if you're going to eat ice cream, don't get the low sugar diet ice cream, the low fat, get the fucking full fat Haagen-Dazs ice cream. I think that's kind of your best bet there. I feel like it's going to be a calorie bomb, but it's going to offer you the most possible nutrition that you can get out of all of those things. And it's going to benefit you majorly in the big picture, in the long run of the whole thing. Anyways, that's actually it, guys. I don't really have anything else to talk to you guys today. When I do solo podcasts, I try not to go like over 45 minutes because it's just me, and I'm just like, all right, for one, I don't want to like abuse my voice and just like keep talking and strain my voice. I have to use it for singing, etc. When I have a guest, I can kind of like split the vocal load between another person. And then not only that, but it's like, I feel like the solo podcasts, like, not everybody has the attention span to just listen to one person talk for like an hour and a half. So that's all I have for you guys today. I don't have a Q&A section today. I kind of just forgot to put it up. So that's really why. But I'll try to add a Q&A section to the next episode. I'm going to be booked with guests for a while. So you won't see me do another solo episode. If this is solo episode number 35, I would imagine my next solo episode might be like number 40. But my next solo episode, I'm going to devote that one to more diet related stuff. And I'm going to talk more in depth about what the Okinawa diet is, why I went on it, what I specifically eat on it, etc. Like I said, I've been on it for a year. I've never been happier, like physically, mentally, all those things. I feel very vibrant. I feel sexy. I feel physically upbeat and energetic and everything like that. I mean, that's not to say I don't have personal issues. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying like energy alone. I feel like I have the most energy I've had, honestly, since I was in my 20s. And I kind of do think a lot of that is because I'm on the Okinawa diet, and it's been a major solution for me in a lot of different ways. So I'm going to explain that in my next solo episode. But for the meantime, like I said, if you're not really a strict dieter, I think a lot of these tips that I provided in this specific podcast episode could really help you if you're coming from a place of like not even knowing where to begin. Like you want to live a healthy lifestyle, but you feel like so behind, or if you're somebody who's been working hard to improve their health and kind of feel like you're getting nowhere. I feel like this would be a great episode for people like that are like, I don't know why I keep hitting a wall. Like maybe there's something in here you're not seeing, and hopefully I was able to provide that for you or help you in any way I possibly could. But that's it. Episode number 35, the Pranzata podcast. If you enjoyed this episode and you found value in it, you're going to want to stick around for the next solo podcast. And I have a lot of like fun guests that I interview. We're very like loose and free here. We kind of talk about what we want to talk about. It's a fun podcast. I really enjoy doing it. Don't forget to hit subscribe. Don't forget to hit like. Don't forget to comment on anything I talked about throughout the episode. And that's it, guys. I hope you have a nice day. Bye.